Be blessed. I am Father Jeffrey Waldrop, and it is an honor to be a voice of He who is the voice. Where does anger get you? I say that because there just seems to be so much anger around. I mean, when you go and you look at some people with these conspiracy theories about the pandemic and the anger behind all of that, the anger behind some Facebook post or Instagram post, the anger that some people have because of what somebody else did to them or how they said it to them or how they looked at them, or people who are angry because they just you don't agree with them, and so they get angry about it. I mean, it makes no absolute sense. When we turn to the scriptures, the psalmists are constantly saying that we should refrain from anger, from being wrathful. St. Paul says to the Ephesians and the Corinthians that we should do away with anger, do away with wrath. Jesus talks about that there is no righteousness in anger. Now, the thing to realize is anger is a natural feeling. When somebody, we all kind of have this protective area, that's our personal space. And when we feel like they're getting into our personal space by what they say or do or something that happens, then that anger wells up inside of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what we do with the anger becomes the problem. And you know it as well as I. I was talking to a group of people this past week, and they were talking about their grandfather. And they were talking about how their grandfather always said, if you can't say something nice about someone, don't say anything at all. We've heard that all before. But he lived it. They were saying, one son said that he was driving with his grandfather in the car, and they were driving down the road. It was at nighttime, and it's the car coming at them, went and had their brights on, and so he started blinking his brights at the guy, and off and on, off and on, off and on, bright, low, bright, low, bright, low, and then they passed, and the rider never changed from his high beam lights. And the grandfather said, why did you just do that? And he said, well, he wouldn't turn his bright lights down, and so I was trying to warn him at the time, but he said, did you have to do it that many times? He said, well, he should have known better and turned his lights down. And he said, but have you ever thought that that was only brightness that he had in his lights, and he couldn't change them? Another person said that their grandfather went, and it was she was complaining. They were again in the car together, and she saw somebody that had built their house like right on the road there, almost on the road. And they were like, I can't believe that they built their house right there. Why did they do that? They could have done this and they could have done that with the house. That just looks terrible, And the grandfather looked at her and said, have you ever thought that that was all of the land that they could have afforded? Different perspective. Another one said that they were talking about somebody, and they were yan about somebody else, and their grandfather, that's still the same grandfather, just didn't say anything, just let them talk. And after they finished, he just, in his quiet, gentle self, said, if you walked in their shoes, I bet you'd see things a whole lot different. See, I think there's wisdom to avoid that temptation to react in anger. Because anger doesn't get you anywhere. St. James tells us in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 19 through 20, my dear brothers, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. For man's anger does not bring about the righteous life that God desires. Isn't that beautiful? To keep anger at bay, we've got to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to becoming angry. Where does anger get you? The response is nowhere. Be blessed. I am Father Jeffrey Waltrip, and it is an honor to be a voice of He who is the voice.